Protests here in San Diego and around the country today as electors cast their votes, some even voting against the popular vote in their state. County leaders are gearing up for the annual homeless census, and they need your help. And as the grizzly bear population recovers, it's humans who are making adjustments in their behavior. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. It's official. Donald Trump has enough electoral votes to be the 45th president of the United States. All California electors cast their votes in favor of Hillary Clinton. She won the California election by a margin of more than 30%. And while there were protests in cities and around state capitals today, the process went as planned. Despite an effort by anti-Trump forces to get Republican electors to abandon the president-elect. Trump lost only 2 electors in Texas. Clinton lost 4 in Washington state. There's no constitutional provision or federal law that requires electors to vote for the candidate who won their state. But some states require their electors to vote for the winning candidate. Republicans in Congress are threatening to cut off federal funding for Planned Parenthood when the new administration takes office. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg explains what that could mean for people here.
Planned Parenthood treated more than 137,000 people last year in San Diego, Riverside, and Imperial counties. It's a leading provider of both family planning services and testing for sexually transmitted diseases. The vast majority of its revenue comes from a combination of state and federal funding. Spokeswoman Sita Walsh says a cutoff of federal money could be devastating.
Defunding Planned Parenthood could cause an increase in cancer deaths, unintended pregnancies, sexually transmitted infections, and HIV.
Planned Parenthood celebrated its 100th anniversary earlier this year. A 2015 Gallup survey found 59% of Americans support Planned Parenthood. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
The San Diego City Council has unanimously approved a list of appointments to council committees, but not everyone is happy with the makeup of the committee that oversees police. The council's Public Safety Committee votes on the police department's policies and budget before those matters reach the full city council. Representatives from the activist group Pillars of the Community say the committee will lack diversity and needs a council member who represents minority communities where relations with the police are most contentious.
They are the ones who would be most involved in being able to make the police department even better and to make sure that the police department is having kind of the correct type of oversight so that they can improve the relationships with the community.
The appointments were made by new council president Myrtle Cole, who represents southeastern San Diego. She says even though she won't sit on the public safety committee, she'll advise it informally. And today we spoke to Councilwoman Cole. Since being elected last week, she says she's focused on economic development and housing. She's represented District 4 since 2013. It includes Emerald Hills, Valencia Park, and Encanto. Now she says she wants to work with other council members to move the city forward without straying from the needs of her district.
Never will I forget about my district. That's one of the reasons why I ran for this position for council member, because I saw some things that we still needed in our district. Sidewalks, we need infrastructure improvements. Public safety is a huge issue in my district, so I want to make sure that we address public safety and that the citizens respect the police officers as well as the police officers respecting the citizens in my district.
Cole, a Democrat, was elected with the support of the council's 4 Republicans. She's the first African-American woman to hold the position. San Diego leaders are calling for volunteers to help count the region's homeless population. The annual point-in-time count kicks off next month. KPBS reporter Susan Murphy has a story.
You tally it, but you also put It will take 1,600 volunteers to scour the county by foot and car in the pre-dawn hours on January 27th to get a head count of homeless people. The annual point-in-time count is conducted in cities nationwide to determine where to direct federal funds. Last year's counts found 8,700 men, women, and children living on the streets, in cars, and makeshift tents. Dolores Diaz is executive director of the Regional Task Force on the Homeless. She says a growing number of people are seeking shelter, food, and health services.
We do help approximately 12,000 unique people. You know, just in the last quarter is how many we helped regionally that presented for some type of service at one of the homeless service providers.
Diaz says more volunteers are needed to count the homeless in North County regions. Those interested will receive training and can register online on the Regional Task Force on the Homeless website. Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
More than 200 student volunteers left gallons of water in the California desert near the border on Saturday. They hope this water will help save the lives of some migrants. KPBS Fronteras reporter Jean Guerrero has a story.
The San Diego nonprofit Border Angels led the water drops along 6 desert routes used by migrants. Some of the routes were in Ocotillo, near Jacumba. Others were in Imperial County. Migrants trying to enter the U.S. illegally often cross the border through remote desert areas like these. Hundreds die of dehydration and hypothermia each year. The volunteers were from all over California. In addition to gallons of water for thirsty migrants, they also left bags of winter clothing along the migrant routes, as well as blankets and hand warmers. Border Angels has been doing these water drops for about 2 decades, but they're growing quickly. Last month, Border Angels saw a record 400 participants. This month's 200 was also unusual. The organization says participation is growing based on word of mouth. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
San Diego is well known for ideal weather, good food, and even craft beer. So you might think people here wouldn't have much to complain about. But reporter Brad Racino with our media partner iNews Source has found they often do. Brad, you've been doing some analysis on this data complaints. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. San Diego recently made a bunch of data available for the public through its Data SD website, and one of those databases contains the last 3 years of complaints filed with the city. So we decided to have some fun with it. We actually mapped those complaints and made them searchable on our website so you can see where people are complaining about bed bugs or hoarders or barking dogs. It's fun to play around with.
So who handles these complaints once they're filed?
That'd be the city's Development Services Department, specifically its Code Enforcement Division. Here's the division's Deputy Director, Mike Richmond, to explain.
We get complaints called in and mailed in online from anybody in the community. We receive, we're projected at the pace we're going this year to receive about 5,900 complaints that end up being cases for us.
Did anything stand out about your analysis?
A few things. One was the sheer volume. Since January of 2014, the data show more than 17,000 complaints have been filed. The second thing that stood out was which complaint types have risen dramatically. By percentage, you'd think the city was overrun with bed bugs and cockroaches. There's been a 17,000% increase in those complaints. There are also many more people concerned with short-term vacation rentals this year than ever before, the Airbnb effect, but the majority of complaints are about unpermitted work.
Now, you've made all of this data available, correct?
Right. The raw data is already available on the city's website, datasd.org, but we cleaned it up a bit and mapped it, so we encourage viewers to go online and check it out.
And that's at inewssource.org. Reporter Brad Racino, thanks for joining us. You can find that story and others from our News in Numbers series at kpbs.org. The research vessel Sally Ride wrapped up its first official scientific journey on Thursday. The cruise was short, just 3 days, but it marked a beginning for a ship that will help researchers better understand the waters covering 70% of the planet. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Out here, the surface of the ocean is vast and featureless, but it's not the surface of the ocean that researchers are interested in. They want to find out what's going on below. Some answers will come from the underwater moorings UC San Diego researchers set out to recover during this trip. The devices were dropped into the water months ago. Once the ship is close,
we're good to release? Going to release it right now.
A release code is sent. The weights holding the instruments underwater are released, and the device floats to the surface.
They're underwater.
I see.
Yeah, there we are. Spotted there, Keith. You'll see the other part come up. It's actually the other part should pop up there.
Oh, there it is.
Comes up. The other part comes up like a submarine.
From there, it's a matter of grabbing the array and hauling it back on board. The journey's principal investigator is a UC San Diego graduate student. Maddie Heyman stands by one of the instruments that's been underwater collecting data for months. The huge orange ball is a flotation device that keeps the small acoustic instruments pointed down.
It sends out acoustic pings, and by measuring the Doppler shift between the outgoing sound and the incoming sound wave, you get information about what the velocity of the water is.
Heyman is studying how underwater tides flow through the La Jolla Canyon system. That movement creates turbulence, which brings nutrients to vibrant nearshore areas.
They're kind of a connection between the open ocean, the offshore shelf waters, and the nearshore waters.
Knowing how that complex underwater system works could help researchers understand how they create and maintain healthy marine environments near the coast. But underwater tides aren't the only target on this research cruise. UC San Diego researcher Anna Sharovich is also retrieving moorings that have been recording underwater sounds for months. She's not listening for water, but for the large mammals that live in it.
The species that we're interested in are endangered species, so large baleen whales like blue and fin whales, and their populations in Southern California, some of them have been steady for a long time, and they don't seem to be recovering after the whaling that happened in the 20th century.
Sharovich is using acoustic recorders to track whales that move through the region. And she is also tracking schools of plankton and krill. Track the food, she reasons, and you can track what eats it. The research vessel makes that work possible.
We deploy the instruments, and they're sitting on the ocean floor for months at a time, and we come back to retrieve them just on this trip. And so they have been collecting data for the last 4 months.
The physical oceanography of deep tidal phenomenon doesn't seem to be related to bioacoustic recordings of animals, but being on the ship together has Sharovich and Heyman thinking about ways to work together.
We decided that next time we all deploy moorings, we should talk and figure out ways to collaborate and put their instruments on our moorings and our instruments on their moorings so that we can collect data over larger areas.
Up on the ship's bridge, the crew's third mate leans over a chart plotting the vessel's return home. This cruise was short, but future cruises could last a couple of months. The Sally Ride is big enough to carry several dozen researchers and technicians. Marine research technician Keith Shadle says the ship is really a lesson in perspective.
Yeah, you're tiny when you're out here, and you're in your own enclosed ecosystem.
Shadle says collecting moorings and doing underwater recordings from the vessel are pretty easy and routine. However, the crew is still trying to figure out all of the Sally Ride's capabilities. One upcoming project will determine whether the ship can take core samples from the ocean floor.
We're going to tilt this big, huge tube, maybe about 20 feet long, vertical in the water, and send it down to the bottom of the ocean. It's going to trip and fall, take a big old sample of the bottom of the ocean.
This voyage is the first of what researchers hope will be many ocean journeys. The Sally Ride is designed to have a lifespan of more than 40 years. It will likely touch all of the world's oceans before it retires. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Grizzly bears are slowly coming back in an ecosystem that includes Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. In tonight's Earth Fix report, researchers track some of these bears to learn where they go and how they spend their time.
Beyond the rhythm of water and the sway of woods is a wild sound. A grizzly bear snoring inside a trap.
The key to being successful with grizzly bears is being patient and investing the time and effort you need to capture bears.
A few hours earlier, Grizz number 1225 was unconscious on this makeshift operating table in the woods. Biologists took samples and fit the animal with a tracking collar.
He's a perfect example of what a young male grizzly bear should look like in quality habitat. Beautiful bear.
Grizz number 1225 lives in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Feeding bears in Yellowstone was once common. The practice stopped in the 1970s, but grizzly bears were dependent on the handouts. They had to learn to find food in the wild, go without, or be put down as trouble.
They don't want garbage per se, but if they find it, then they eat it, and that's where problems come in.
By 1975, the government added grizzlies to its list of species facing the threat of extinction. Their numbers dropped below 200 in the Yellowstone region. Today, there are more than 1,000.
Is that a 1 year?
117.
Okay, that's it.
10% of them are collared, so biologists can track their every move. Tracking starts as soon as the bear leaves the trap.
People don't really understand how often bears actually move through this area. And it's a tribute to the bears and really their tolerance and really what they're looking for.
A male grizzly's range covers 2,000 square miles.
It's pretty incredible, the distances these bears cover and why they do it. It just continually raises so many questions as far as we always think like we're starting to get a glimpse of what they're doing, and then something new will come up and it blows your mind.
Researchers like Nicole Walker follow the bear's path on foot. She checks the area for collared bears before she leaves the truck.
If we hear a beep, it means that there's a collared grizzly in the area. Hearing a beep is bad. We don't want to hear beep. Static is good. If we hear a beep, we leave.
Walker's trying to understand why the bear was here, but for personal safety, she doesn't want the bear to be here when she comes through. She hollers often to make her presence known.
There's a high level of anxiety sometimes, but it's also a big thrill to be out here in bear country and investigating and seeing things that a lot of people don't get to see.
Walker finds clues, a fresh daybed dug behind a log, and bark peeled back by a bear searching for bugs to eat. This research may help recovery efforts in other regions, like Washington's North Cascades. Knowing where grizzlies go and what they eat matters.
Our research has indicated one of the big things that they're eating are ants. Ants are sustaining a lot of bears in the Island Park area, and you just think of an animal of that size sustaining itself on tiny ants.
Ants, berries, roadkill, and yes, still today, sometimes garbage.
Every year we have conflicts to where we have to go and try to manage a conflict bear or manage people who are making poor choices.
Yellowstone's grizzlies spent the last 4 decades expanding on the landscape they share with humans. Now it's people who are facing some adjustments.
Their population is growing and they're in places that they haven't been. And now it's at the point where we have to change some of our behaviors.
The Greater Yellowstone Coalition is working with the Forest Service to bear-proof campgrounds.
You know, it's easy to work with kids, and it's the parents or the grandparents who are like, I never used to camp like that. Well, I don't see the need to do that.
These measures aren't just to keep people safe, they're also to protect Yellowstone's grizzlies from the bad habits that got them in trouble just a few decades ago.
My whole life, grizzly bears have been protected. They've always been this iconic species that is kind of hidden or really secretive, and there's not a lot known, and we're starting to uncover a lot of that. To actually see them be on the edge of where they've recovered enough to where they don't need to be listed is a cool thing to be a part of.
A warm-up followed by a cool down and rain in San Diego this week. Regina Miller has tonight's forecast.
Well, Southern California, it's been pretty clear here from Fresno down through Los Angeles and San Diego. But to the north, we've had more clouds around Redding. We've also seen some flurries, a couple of snow showers showing up there around northern Nevada. But taking a look at your forecast for the metro areas tonight, mainly clear skies, a temperature of 47 degrees. In San Diego County, we'll see an overnight low of 37 degrees in Oceanside with clear skies. Borrego Springs, you'll be at 35 degrees. Mount Laguna, 37 degrees. Alpine, 43 degrees, and in San Diego we'll be at 47 degrees. Now, Tuesday, it will be a bit milder. We have a good deal of sunshine here for Southern California. But as we go into the late week, we have a storm system that's going to be moving on shore across central California. It'll bring mountain snows, and it's going to bring some rain as well. So taking a look at your forecast for the coast on Tuesday, 73 degrees. We have sunny, pleasant conditions. We have partly sunny skies for Wednesday, and then on Thursday, that's when we'll see a shower or two around the area. Partly sunny and cooler on Friday, 66 degrees, and then only 61 degrees for Saturday with spotty showers for your Christmas Eve. On Tuesday, inland areas, you'll see a high temperature of 80 degrees. Plenty of sunshine in the forecast, and we could see a shower in places on Wednesday with a temperature of 81 degrees. Some spotty showers around on Thursday and cooler. We're down to 75. We have some sunshine on the way for Friday, so a nice travel day if you're heading anywhere for the holiday. And then for Saturday, we'll have spotty showers and cool 64 degrees for your Christmas Eve. In the mountain areas, we'll have sunny skies, not as cool with a temperature of 57 degrees. There'll be a stray shower around on Wednesday and then some spotty showers on Thursday with a high temperature of 57. Friday, partly sunny and 55. And then for Saturday, spotty showers and cooler, a temperature of 50 degrees for your daytime high for Christmas Eve. On Tuesday in the desert areas, 72 degrees, plenty of sunshine. Partly sunny for Wednesday, spotty showers moving in for the late week there on Thursday. Looks like some pretty nice travel weather for Friday with a high temperature of 73 degrees. And then we have mostly cloudy skies on Saturday, Christmas Eve. It'll be 70 degrees. I'm Regina Miller, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour. A rare look inside Bruce Springsteen's studio as the rock legend talks about music and depression. That's Monday on the PBS News Hour.
San Diego is excited to host CONCACAF 2017.
A major soccer tournament heads to San Diego next year. The city will be one of 14 hosts of the CONCACAF Gold Cup. 2 first-round matches will be held at Qualcomm Stadium in July. Mexico's team will be one of the 4 teams playing at the Q. San Diego previously hosted the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 1996 and 2000. Not sure what to get a child this holiday season? Maybe you could try a good old-fashioned book, but not just any book. KPBS education reporter Megan Burks spoke with the County Office of Education's head librarian about his top children's books picks of 2016.
It's probably several hundred books a year that I read and evaluate.
Jonathan Hunt reads just about every book that makes it into local school libraries.
I am looking for a book that will not stay on the shelf.
He says more and more, those books include LGBT characters. Hunt says 2016 was the year LGBT young adult novels moved from tokenism to inclusion. Take We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson.
It would really almost be hard to think of this necessarily as a gay and lesbian book. It's just there's one piece of it.
It's part science fiction, part coming of age as the protagonist deals with his boyfriend's death.
Our main character has been abducted by aliens periodically throughout his life, and they've abducted him one final time and given him the option of pushing a red button and detonating the world and exploding it. And so he has to choose whether or not life is worth living under the present circumstances.
Hunt says about 24 young adult books featuring LGBT characters are winning praise from critics this year, including Beast by Bree Spangler and Unbecoming by Jenny Downham. Another trend, nonfiction books written or illustrated to capture the imagination like fiction.
It's got a great warning. Very few people in this story die of natural causes. So I think that kind of telegraphs the excitement and adventure that a lot of readers are going to be drawn towards.
Samurai Rising by Pamela Turner is about a 12th century samurai and topped Hunt's favorites list this year. For more of Hunt's recommendations, go to kpbs.org. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
The days of waiting in long lines at the mall to meet Santa may be nearing an end. Associated Press reporter Mike Householder says malls across the nation have upgraded, and the new Santa experience is sure to satisfy tech-savvy kids.
Look up there, look up there. A photo with Santa is one of the traditions of Christmas. While that custom is still going strong, it's the stuff before the picture taking that's changing.
We wanted to reinvent the entire experience.
Looks like a storm is coming. Dozens of malls across the country have switched to high-tech Santa displays, hoping to lure shoppers who are buying more on the web.
As our competitors and as online and other experiences grow and get better in the world, we continue to up the ante.
Most of the interactive setups are near major cities that tend to house pricier stores, such as Taubman's 12 Oaks Mall near Detroit, now hosting Santa's Flight Academy, where kids work with elves to help get Santa's sleigh ready so he can deliver presents. The final stop is a 2-story enclosed sleigh that drops fake snow on them.
I just remember waiting in a long line, seeing Santa for a second, getting a picture taken, and going home. So I like having, different interactive games and, simulators for the kids to play around with and keep them entertained until they get to Santa.
The Fashion Outlets of Chicago also upped its Santa experience this year by installing Santa HQ. Kids go through the naughty or nice meter, take a selfie, and see themselves as dancing elves.
Customers and children are very tech savvy nowadays, and their expectations have drastically increased.
Near Atlanta, North Point Mall installed a DreamWorks Dream Place.
You guys want to go to the North Pole to see Santa, right?
The set inserts characters from DreamWorks Studios' Kung Fu Panda films and uses rumbling seats, wind and mist to create a virtual ride on Santa's sleigh. The star of the show will always be Santa, but pairing him with some cool gadgets helps remind parents there are stores in the mall.
It's definitely a lot more fun, so I think it makes it a little better for the kids.
Santa's Flight Academy?
And perhaps better for businesses, too.
Good job!
Mike Householder, The Associated Press.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.